coming few classes, coming 2 to 3 classes. Okay, so the we'd only discuss now how to prepare the templates. Okay, now before going into the details of a template, okay, uh, let me share my screen with you. Okay, can you see this white screen now?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
okay, okay. Thank you. So, okay, so it start by introducing types of projections. I'm sure you are already familiar with this. So what you would be using in our curriculum is orthographic projection. And you must also be familiar with the other types of projections, for example, isometric, oblique projection.
Sir, in our engineering drawing course, sir, we only gave the Viva on still orthographic projections, sir. And as long as
Okay,
we had the physical classes, sir could only cover till the first part of the orthographic projection. Could not
okay,
do
okay,
isometric or oblique projection. Sir, can you?
okay. Yeah, yeah. So I'll cover that part. Okay. So that's what this class is about, right? Okay. So oblique projection, and number 4 being the perspective projection. So so the first one you are as you're saying, you are already familiar with. Okay, so in orthographic projections, okay, so what we do is uh, we take, let's say, this is our object, and we want to draw its projections. So we take a plane on which we are interested in drawing the projection, and what we do is we drop normals or perpendiculars, okay, from each point to that plane. And then what we do is we join the respective points and we identify the lines that would be visible from a given side. For example, you are looking from this side, from right side, okay, so we identify the lines that will be visible, so which are the solid lines on this drawing, so we identify those. And even there could be lines, for example, if there is a cylindrical hole, okay, so that would also be visible, that would not be visible, so we draw that with hidden lines. Okay, so that is orthographic projection. Okay, and and so in this case, okay, we we can show, okay, for example, this plane, we can think of this plane to be an XZ plane. Okay, and that's how we do orthographic projection. If we were to draw isometric view, so what you do is you'd represent the dimensions in three different axes, let's say X, Y, and Z, by angles, separated by angles 120 degree to one another. Okay, much like the way I have drawn this particular object, okay, so if you look at this projection over here, you can okay, so much like the way I have drawn this object, okay, now in an oblique projection the angles are not necessarily uniform. Okay, so some of the angles could be larger than 120 degree and some of them would be smaller. Obviously the sum of all the angles are going to be 360 degree. Now in each of this method, orthographic projection, isometric projection, and oblique projection, the way we draw any object as if we are looking from an infinite distance. Okay, what does that mean is that the line which is in front and the line which is behind, maybe they are of same length, but if you are to look at it from a from a closer point, let's say a point much closer to the object, we would see the lines that are closer to the point to be larger, and the ones that are further we would find them to be smaller, although in physically they may be of the same length, but that is how vision works, that the objects that are nearer seems to be larger. Okay, but that difference is also dependent on how much further are you from the actual object. As you go further and further from the object, that difference between the two line lengths, uh, as seen by the eyes, okay, of the two lines of the same length, the difference keeps on reducing, and theoretically from an infinite distance, that that difference would be negligible. Okay, so in each of this projection, what we do is we draw uh, draw the objects as if we are looking at them from an infinite distance. Okay, however, in perspective view, we take into account that the objects that are nearer seems to be larger compared to the objects that are further. Okay, the difference between orthographic projection and other two projections, that is isometric and oblique view, is we want to show all the three uh, mm, uh, all the three dimensions. Okay, in isometric and oblique view, we want to show all the three dimensions. However, in orthographic projection, we show two dimensions at a time. For example, this can be referred to as the front view. Okay, and if I place another plane which is perpendicular to the first one, okay, and if I look at it from the top, then I can obtain the top view, which would look something like this. with a circular hole. Okay, so these so if I am only able to find x and z coordinate in the front view, over here I'll be finding only x and y coordinates. Okay, okay. So this is regarding the projections. Okay, so what we do in orthographic projection, for the time being, if we know the orthographic projection, that is fine. And even in the orthographic projection, we there could be different angles or different quadrants. For example, with the help of, let's say the let's say the x and x and z axis. So if this is x, this is y. If this is the origin, this x axis, this is y axis, and this is the z axis. Okay, with the help of x and z axis, we can divide the space into four quadrants. Okay, so this is the first quadrant where both x and z coordinates are positive. This is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. Okay, now we typically introduce first angle projections and a third angle or third quadrant projections. So what happens in a first quadrant projection is that you keep this object, let's say, again, this is the object that I'm trying to draw the projections of. Okay, so the object is placed between the screen and the eye. Okay, and the observer. Okay, so if, let's say, this point P is the observer, and then we see the front view. Okay, so on the vertical plane we'll find the front view. So vertical plane is this one. In this one we will find a front view. Okay, and the object lies between the observer and the screen. Okay, so if I'm looking at it, so this view, whatever I can see from here, would be shown on this YZ plane of ours. Okay, the positive YZ plane of ours. Similarly, while drawing the top view, I'll be looking from the top, and that view, that projection would be shown on the positive XY plane. Okay. In case of a third angle projection, we would keep the object in the third quadrant. Okay, and again, if we are looking at it from the right side to draw the front view, or from the top side to draw the top view, then what we see, unlike the previous case, the object itself is not between the screen and the observer. Instead, the screen is between the object and the observer. And in this case, the screen is actually assumed to be transparent. Unlike the previous case, the screen here is assumed to be transparent. Okay, and whatever we see from the top of the object, that would be projected back to the screen. So what we see in this case is in the first angle projection. Let's say I'm looking from P over here. Okay, so this point would be projected on the screen, and so would be the other points, and eventually a projection would be drawn on a screen which is away from the object. I mean, which is further away from the observer. Okay, but in the third angle projection, the screen is between the object and the observer. So whatever the observer sees of the object, that is projected back to the screen, which is above the object, or in this case in front of the object. Okay, in case of the front view, it is in front of the object, and uh, in case of the top view, it is above the object, and that's why the points are projected back, and which would be then observed by the observer as a projection. Okay, and to symbolically represent uh, the first angle and third angle projection, this is how it is done. For example, to draw the first angle projection, imagine there is a truncated cone. Now if I look at it from the left, like this, two solid circles, okay, both visible from the left. And if you notice, I'm drawing this projection behind the object. Okay, so it shows that whatever I'm seeing from the left, I'm drawing it on the right. And this is how the first angle projection works. Instead, if I had drawn something like this, again both solid circles, that would represent that seeing whatever I'm seeing from the left, I'm drawing in the left সরি, মাই নেটওয়ার্ক গট ডিসকানেক্টেড। একটু বলবে কি কত দূর অবধি বলা হয়েছিল?
স্যার ওই থার্ড অ্যাঙ্গেল প্রজেকশনে স্যার কিভাবে আঁকতে হয় ওটা বলছিলেন, মানে কিভাবে দেখাতে হয় থার্ড অ্যাঙ্গেলটা ওইটা বলছিলেন।
ওকে ওকে,
স্যার সিম্বলটা বলছিলেন আপনি।
হ্যাঁ। So you must be already familiar with the symbols, right? Of the first and the third angle
হ্যাঁ
projection.
স্যার, হ্যাঁ স্যার, হ্যাঁ স্যার।
Okay, okay. So we can move on from here. Okay. So the next thing is how do we prepare our templates, or how do we prepare our drawing sheets? Okay. Now
স্যার
the
ক্যান ইউ
standard,
again
আপনার প্রেজেন্টেশনটা স্যার আপনার
প্রেজেন্টেশনটা স্টার্ট করবেন?
আমি স্ক্রিনটা শেয়ার করছি, and I believe this recording is already running, but I'll share my screen. I've not shown anything yet. Okay.
ওকে স্যার।
এই স্ক্রিনটা দেখা যাচ্ছে, পিডিএফটা, হোয়াইট স্ক্রিন।
হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ
স্যার
স্যার, এটা দেখা যাচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
Okay. Okay. So this red square actually represents the total size of the paper in which we are supposed to work. And you must be already familiar with the BIA standard the sizes of the drawing sheets as A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, and so on, right? Now,
Yes sir.
do you recall how the dimensions could be obtained for each of the paper size? So the thing is that,
So we
if
would
we
just
start
keep
with
folding them.
sorry,
Sir,
The
we
leaves
take
half
A0 and we just keep folding them in half.
yeah, you're supposed to folding them into half, and that's how you're supposed to get the smaller sizes. So in this series, A0 is the largest, and A4 is the smallest. Okay, and area wise, each uh, higher paper size can be folded into two of the smaller sizes. So A1 has the half the area of A0, A2 has half the area of A1, and so on. Now, the total area of A0 is 1 meter squared. Okay. Now, to ensure that the length to width or length to breadth ratio of any paper size, okay, that remains constant. So this ratio, L by B ratio, is a constant for each of these paper sizes. Okay. Now, since you mentioned that you can fold them into half and get the smaller size, okay, then obviously A0, A2, and A4 have the same aspect ratio because you are folding them twice. Okay, that means both length and breadth are being divided into equal halves, which means that the area size would be 1/4 from A0 to A2 and A2 to A4. So L by B ratio is a constant for A0, A2 and A4. But the thing is, they are also constant for A1 and A3, and later comes A5. For each case, it is constant. Okay. So which means when I do the first fold, I'm basically dividing the length into half. So if this whole sheet is A0, then each half is A1. Now for A1, sorry, I'm dividing the breadth, right? Sorry, I should be dividing the length. So this is L and this is B. So for A1, the length is B and the breadth is L by 2. And B and L are the original length and the breadth of A0. For A1, the length is B and the breadth is L by 2. And it should be the same ratio as A0, which means this is L by B, which goes to show us that L squared by B squared is 2, or L is to B is 1 is to root 2. Therefore, LB, as we have already discussed, this is 1 meter squared. And if I use this relation,
Sir,
yes,
sir, I think it would be root 2 is to 1.
root 2 is to 1. Yes, correct. So this is a ratio. So L2 squared by root 2 equals 1. That implies L is 2 to the power 1/4. Okay. And that turns out to be about 1.189 meter. And if I divide that by root 2, B equals about Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was trying to discuss the sizes of the different drawing sheets. So then we discuss the trimmed size and the untrimmed size. So could you follow the untrimmed size?
No, sir, you got disconnected. So we were discussing about them. So they only got the length. So
Sir,
the
we got the
1.1.
value of the breadth. Sir,
Yes,
then
sir.
you got disconnected, sir.
Okay, so you got the value of B and then it was
Yes.
disconnected. Okay. Okay. So after getting the value of B, I said that the dimensions of each uh, uh, each paper size is mentioned in millimeters, which gives us the size of A0 as 841 cross 1189. Okay, and then similarly we can find out the smaller sizes simply dividing the larger number by 2. Okay, and in this way we can get various sizes including A4. Okay, but all of these are trimmed sizes. Okay, initially the paper size would be kept untrimmed, which comes with certain amount of margin, and the untrimmed size is the trimmed size plus twice the margin. Okay, and how much is the margin? When it comes to larger paper sizes such as A0, A1, there about 20 millimeters of margin is kept from each side. So that way the size of A0 untrimmed size becomes 880 by 1230. But when we come for the smaller sizes, okay, we can reach let's say A4. So here the size of the margin is about 15 millimeters. So that way the untrimmed size is 240 by 330. Okay, so later I was discussing the layout of the paper that we will be discussing even further. So there is this untrimmed size, which is this outermost box. Then there is a trimmed size, which is the size coming from this formula. Okay, and then there is this border within which we would draw our objects. Okay, so let us see how the paper sizes work. So this, can you see this red square?
Yes, sir.
So this red square is the untrimmed size. Okay, that is the size with the margins. Okay, so for example, you have the total page of which you cut the untrimmed size, and in which you put the margins and borders and all your drawings. Okay, and once you are done, you can probably trim it to the actual specified size. Now this one is the border. Okay, the blue line. Now, as we mentioned earlier, that for A0 and A1, this is the margin. The margin would be this is a margin line, and the margin would be about 20 millimeters from each side for A0 and A1. For smaller paper sizes, that margin should be around 15 millimeters. Okay. Next comes the border. Now this border for larger paper sizes, this border could be, for example, for A0, A1, they could be about 20 millimeters, and for smaller paper sizes, for A2, A3, A4, and A5, this border would be around 10 millimeters. Okay. Now I have drawn all of these assuming a A1 paper size. So I have taken 20 for 20 for margin, then around 10 for border. Okay. Now, having said that, again another 20 for the border. Now, having said that, from the left side, we are supposed to keep the border slightly wider compared to that in the left. Okay. So in this case, I have probably kept that to be 40. The border in the left is 40. That is the gap between the blue and the green line. Okay, that is kept to be 40, and from and on all the other sides, that is 20. Okay. Then next comes the center lines.
Sir?
Sorry.
স্যার স্মলার পেপার সাইজের জন্য ওই সাইডের বর্ডারটা কত হবে? 40 থেকে তো কম হবে নিশ্চয়।
So if you take let's say about 10 millimeters for all the other sides, you can take that to be 20. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now we are taking 4 center lines. Okay. Now these are there for identifying the broadly segmenting the entire paper. Okay. Let's say you can now mentally imagine that it can be divided into 4 segments. The paper can be divided into 4 segments. Now 4 center lines are drawn exactly in the middle of each border line. Okay, and that slightly protrudes inside of the working area. Okay. Now next comes the magenta lines, which are, I have used colors only for explaining, but you can do all that in pencil. Okay, you don't have to use any color. So next comes the grid line. Okay, which is again like in a chessboard, it marks the different zones. Okay, for example, in this case, A3 could be somewhere around this rectangle. Okay, so that way you can identify where you have placed a particular object. Okay, let's say you are drawing a set of components. Let's say that involves a set of nuts and set of bolts. Where you have drawn those nuts and bolts, you can also specify the coordinate, also specify the box where you have kept it. So now how many divisions are you supposed to do? Okay, that is up to you, but that is also dependent upon the size of the paper. Okay, so these grids are basically uniform. As you can see, the grids in the horizontal and vertical directions are not same. Neither are they divided into same number of components, or neither are the sizes same. But in a given direction, either horizontal or vertical, okay, horizontal or vertical, they are uniform. Okay. Now next comes your title block. Okay, I have put a few elements in the title block. that were the things that was in my mind. So I initially, so I put those. But if there are other things that pop out, for example, I thought of the submission date. You can also put the submission date in here. So the items that I put is the title of the drawing that you are drawing. Let's say the exploded view of the stuffing blocks, the stuffing block, that can be the title. Then uh, then the name of the person who made the drawing, that is yourself. Okay, you can put the name or the prepared by, whatever you want to. Then the class and the roll number. I believe that should be sufficient to describe the person. Then the scale that you are using, and I'll come back to the scale. But before that, there is the projection itself is represented through the symbol. So in this case, I have used the first angle projection symbol. Okay. Now about the scale. Now you can use uh, different scales depending on your paper size and the size of the component that you are drawing. Okay. It doesn't always have to be 1:1. If you're using a smaller paper size, for example, A2 or A3 or A4, my suggestion would be don't use A4, use either A2 or A3. Let's say you are using A3 and the dimensions of A3 are 297, that is 300 millimeters by 420 millimeters. And that is uh, around 12 inches to 16 inches. That is the dimension. So if something is of around 1000 millimeters, you certainly cannot accommodate that in this geometry. So what you do is you use a scale. Okay, and this is how typically the scales are represented. So if you want to reduce the size, okay, so you write the scale like this. If you are drawing a large object, you want to use this scale. Let's say 1:2. Now the most common scale should be 1:1, where you draw exactly the same size as the final object. Okay. Now using a scale of 1:2, okay, it means that you reduce the dimensions while drawing. You reduce the dimensions to half. Okay. So if an object is 300 millimeters in your drawing, its actual length should be 150 millimeters. If certain dimension is 300 millimeters, that should be 150 millimeters in your drawing. But when finally the object is prepared, that is how it is this represented. The final object would have a dimension of 300. Of course, when you are actually dimensioning the object, you write 300 over there. Okay. So let's say this particular length, which you have drawn in 1:2 scale, in your drawing, it is actually 150 millimeters. But then when you are dimensioning it, write 300. Okay. And the ratios involve either 2 or 5 or 10. Okay. Or the multiples of those. So these are the scales, possible scales: 1:2, 1:5, 1:10, then 1:20, 50, 100, etc. So all of these scales you can use. Okay. And similarly, there are enlarging scales. That means you draw objects that are smaller, but in the drawing you enlarge them. In depicting those objects in your drawing, you enlarge them. So you use scales such as this: 50:1, 20:1, etc. In the same way that you do for the reducing scale. Okay. So you cannot use any scale like 1:3. That's the point. So you get to choose specific scales, and uh, in you might not have seen a lot of use of scale in engineering drawing, but that might be necessary with this course of yours, which is machine drawing. So you'll be drawing various machine components that could be quite large in size. So you probably have to use some reducing scales. Okay. Acha. Now the next thing would be to prepare the list of objects or the list of items. Okay. For example, you are drawing the exploded view of a valve. There would be many components in a valve. For example, a spring. There could be the casing, and there could be other components in a valve. Okay. So you want to draw different objects. Okay, in an exploded view, or for that matter, you want to draw an assembled view, let's say with a section of a valve. And what you want to do is you want to you do not have the enough spacing or enough uh, gap to write the name of the component uh, near the location where you have drawn it. Okay. So you cannot write the name there. So what you instead do is you just number them. Okay. Let's say encircled, you number them and encircle them. Okay. And you put those numbers in this column, the left column. Okay, which is the serial number, and then you write the number of name of the component. Okay. And then you also write the number of items that are there. For example, in a flange coupling, okay, there could be a set of holes, okay, which must be joined through bolts. So there could be let's say 4 or 6 bolts and the same number of nuts. Okay. So you can write the name of the component, and you are supposed to mention the quantity of the object in the next column. Okay. There could be 1 or 2 more columns if necessary, but these are the primary number of columns that must be there. Okay. And you might notice that this table is kind of inverted. I have not labeled them at the top, but I have labeled them from the bottom. Okay. So that if you forgot to mention one of the items, you can add them at the top. So it just begins, okay, from the title block itself. Now the size of the title block is also given by the BIS standard. Okay. And that size is 185 millimeter to 65 millimeter. Okay. So this is the length and this is the breadth for any paper size. Okay. Whether you use A2 or A3 or A1, you use the same size of the title block. Okay. So please keep this in mind. Achha. So if you have, do you have any confusion regarding so far we have discussed?
Sir,
Yes.
the table which shows serial number, component, and quantity, that can the table and the rows and column, that can be of any dimension as we please, or we have to make it of a particular dimension as well.
The dimensions you can make it similar to the title block itself. Okay. Yes, I didn't find any specific instruction for the size. Okay. But the text, yes, regarding the text of the title block as well as the list of items, that the text should be in engineering lettering format. Okay. And you can imagine there are specific size for engineering lettering. Okay, and I'll not be going into the details of that. You don't have to do exactly same as engineering lettering. I mean, you can write freehand, but try to make it look as much similar to engineering lettering as possible. But if you have a certain, if you choose a certain, like for example, 7 millimeters is the text height. Okay, so you can imagine the size of the columns or the size of the rows or the height of the rows could be about 10 millimeters. Okay, so there is some specific size of the lettering you must be familiar. So you can choose accordingly. There should be some clearance between the text height and the lines that define the row. Okay, so that size should be good enough. There should be good enough clearance. So let's say if the text height is 7 millimeters, so you can take this size of the row to be 10 millimeters.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Acha. Okay, so for the next part, we'll discuss about various line types. Okay. Before that, I should have mentioned this earlier. You can consider this to be your textbook. The book title is same as your subject, which is machine drawing. By the author N.D. Bhatt and V.M. Panchal. Okay. Um, if you can possibly come to the university, I believe you'll find copies of that even in the departmental library. If not, probably in the central library. But
Sir, we have the book in the drive.
you have the book in the
Drive Google. Class
Google
notes.
Drive. So you have the PDF already. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. But it's not the engineering mechanics book, right? It's the machine drawing book. Do you have the engineering drawing book or the machine drawing book?
স্যার
The
মেশিন
two.
ড্রয়িং এর বুকটাই আছে।
Okay. 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 So yeah, so you can go through. So what I'm covering now is basically the first 3 chapters. Okay, which essentially discuss the preliminary part of engineering drawing itself. Okay, and then we can directly go into drawing different uh, engineering components, so that we can do later. But for the time being, my instruction is you can prepare probably at least 2 templates, okay, of your preferred size. I believe A2 should be good enough. A2, and if you cannot do A2, A3 is also good enough. So you can prepare a couple of templates. Achha, next thing is about lines. Okay, so lines and line widths. So the lines that would be used for drawing the outline of the geometry. Then the hidden lines, the center lines, etc. So each of these lines have different purpose, okay, and they also have different thickness, okay. But what is common with all of these is they are equally dark. They can be of different thickness, but that doesn't mean one of them could be light, the other one could be dark. They are supposed to be all equally dark, and uniform thickness and uniform darkness across the length. Okay. Now we will make ourselves familiar with various types of lines. So the first type of line is a continuous lines. Okay. Now of the continuous lines, there are thick continuous lines and there are thin continuous lines. Can you tell me what the thick continuous lines are used for?
The thick continuous lines are basically drawing the margin or making certain outlines.
Yes, yes. Okay, yes. Now, for the time being, we'll keep the border lines and margin lines, okay, from our discussion, separated from our discussion. So let's say when it comes to drawing the objects, drawing the projections and drawing the views, okay, the continuous thick line is supposed to be for the outlines or the solid boundaries. Okay, let's say in the previous example you are getting, okay, we were getting a view like this. Anyways, so thick lines are for drawing the solid boundaries, okay, thick continuous lines. Now what are the thin continuous lines are for? For example, these are for drawing the projection lines. For example, you have the front view and you want to draw the top view. So what you do is you want to have the y dimensions to be identical, so you draw the projection lines. So those are going to be your solid continuous lines. Okay, now let's say this smaller rectangular portion is a section and you want to draw the hatches, which are essentially 45-degree angles, okay, are at 45-degree angles. So those hatch lines are supposed to be your thin continuous lines. So if you are willing to show the hatches, or if you want to draw the projection lines, or for that matter you want to put a dimension over here, okay, let's say 20, so you do that using thin continuous lines. Okay, now since we are in the topic of dimensioning, please be careful with your arrowheads. Okay, obviously I'm not able to do that properly in my computer screen, but please do keep in mind that the ratio of the width to length of an arrowhead is 1:3. So if this is the width and this is the length, then this W to L of an arrowhead is 1:3, number one. Number two, it is entirely shaded from the interior. Okay, it is not supposed to be hollow, and it is not supposed to be like this, okay, or any other way. It is supposed to be shaded entirely in the inside. And number three, which is an aesthetic point, that it should not be too large or too small. That means while maintaining this aspect ratio and while shading entirely inside of the arrowhead, you are also supposed to be um, careful with the size of the arrowheads. They should not be too large or too small. Okay. Dimensioning. And one thing I forgot to mention, that while you do orthographic projection, as we have mentioned earlier, so you have two planes. I'm taking the example of first angle projection, let's say, and let's say for the sake of simplicity, we are drawing the projection of a cylinder, which is essentially a square, a rectangle in both the views. Okay. So I know you are already familiar with this, but what we do is, after taking the projection, let's say this is the vertical plane and this is the horizontal plane. So what we do is, after taking the projection on the horizontal plane, we rotate the horizontal plane, okay, clockwise, and align itself with the vertical plane, and then we have the front view and the top view both on the same plane. And we can also do the same thing with the auxiliary plane, which is the third plane, which gives us the side view, okay, or basically completes the quadrant. So once we have taken the projection on that, so in the auxiliary plane, the projection would be a circle. So once we have done that, what we do is, we plot it, we rotate this plane. After taking the projection, we rotate this plane, okay, and align with the vertical plane, and eventually plot the side view. Okay. So when we are actually drawing the projections, so what we can do is, we can draw the projection lines, and for example, again in this case, what we can do is, we can rotate this dimensions. Okay. So typically, if we have two views, we can draw the third view, okay, from that itself, okay. But many times, all the three views are probably necessary to understand the geometry of the object in 3 dimensions. Okay, so these are the purpose of the thick and the thin continuous lines. Number 2 is the dashed thin line. What are dashed thin lines used for?
So to represent those lines which cannot be directly seen.
Yes, to represent the hidden lines. For example, in our earlier example, we were drawing a cylindrical hole. So that cylindrical hole would be represented with dashed thin lines. So the hidden lines. Number 3 are chain thin lines, thin chain lines. What are they used for? What are chain lines? Yeah, center line. Center line. They are used for representing the center line. Okay, and there should be certain ratio of the size of the bigger part, the smaller part, and the gap between the smaller part. Okay, so all of these have certain ratio. So that for that you need to consult your textbook. Okay, if so obviously while you are drawing, you are not always able to keep the same ratio. Okay, but at least it should not look, okay, totally off from what it is supposed to be. It should look close to what it's supposed to be. Okay, acha. Number one, and same thing goes for the hidden lines as well. What should be the size of uh, uh, line segments and the gaps? Okay, there is also the specification for that. Okay, but you don't have to exactly follow that, but it should be very close to that. If it is good if you can exactly follow that. If not, at least it should look close to what it is supposed to be. Acha. Now when you are showing it from the top view, as we had discussed earlier, so the top view would look something like this. Okay, with a circular hole. Okay, now in that, if I am showing the center lines, this is how it is supposed to look. There should be two center lines intersecting, and the intersection must happen over the smaller segments. Okay, can you see this? Two smaller segments have intersected at the center of the circle. So chain lines are used for center lines. Achha. Number 4, you'll find a lot of different types of lines. Okay, but I'm only mentioning a few. I believe those are the only ones that you would require. Number 4 is this type of a line. So it's a chain line with a thick and thin combination. Okay, and they often come with thick arrowheads with letters marked beneath them. Okay, can you tell me what they are used for?
স্যার মেবি কোথাও সাবজেক্ট চেঞ্জ হবে।
সরি,
আমার ঠিক মনে পড়ছে না, বাট মনে হয় সারফেসটা চেঞ্জ হলে বা ওই সাইডটা চেঞ্জ হলে এটা দেওয়া হতো।
ওকে,
মানে কোথাও কাটছি কোন একটা জায়গাতে, সেটা দেখাতে মনে হতে হবে।
yes, to represent section. Okay, imagine you are working with a component that looks like this. On the top view, it's a rectangle with two circular holes. Okay, and I'm drawing this type of a section line. At the edges, they're supposed to be thicker, What is the meaning of this? That when I draw the front view, that would be a sectional view, and that would look somewhat like this. Okay, so imagine this object has been cut along this plane. So this part is a section, same as this part. Okay, so this is the purpose of this thick and thin combination chain line. Okay, it is only thick at the two ends, okay, where you put the arrowhead to show the cutting plane or the cutting surface, and anywhere where it has an angle. Okay, so I might choose to cut the geometry instead of like this. I might choose to cut it by making a bent line, and then I'll be using my section plane or this thick and thin combination chain line to represent my section plane like this. Okay, or for that matter I can do it on this side, actually on this other side. Okay, so then this part, then it is a section only up to this part, and for this part I'll show the whole cylindrical hole using a set of hidden lines. Okay, Achha. There are two other line types I would like to discuss. One is number 5, continuous but freehand. Okay, imagine there is an object which is quite large, but you are not interested in the most part of it. You are only trying to focus on a smaller segment which probably has a circular hole. Okay, so all of this part you have either used your compass or your scale to draw. Now this part that I'm drawing freehand. Okay, because I'm not going to show the remaining part of it. Okay, remaining part of the geometry. But then this continuous freehand, continuous, and it is supposed to be thin as well. Okay, and then there is number 6, where I'm using zigzags. Okay, now imagine again a rectangular portion which has this
Sir,
circular.
স্যার বলছি
হ্যাঁ, বলুন।
কন্টিনিউয়াস থিন ফ্রি হ্যান্ডের জায়গাটা ইউজটা একবার রিপিট করবেন স্যার, মানে কম্পাসের অব্দি শুনতে পেয়েছিলেন, তারপর স্যার একটু
So continuous thin free hand, let's say it's a quite large object, okay, and you are not interested in drawing the remaining portion of it. You are only interested in the portion where there is this circular hole, okay. So you draw this part, okay, this circular hole, this circular curved portion, this flat portion, okay. You use all of this to you draw all of this using your instruments, right? But for this part you are only using freehand. You are not using anything except your pencil, okay. It's because you are not interested in drawing anything beyond this portion, okay. So there you can do that. And again, we are drawing a zigzag portion. Let's say this rectangular portion is so large, okay. Yes, of course you would provide a dimension over here, okay. Let's say this one has a dimension of 1000 millimeters, and again we will not put millimeters. So let's say this one has a dimension of 1000, and you are drawing it, let's say, on a A3 sheet. So you obviously do not have enough space to draw a 1000 millimeter component, drawing in 1:1 scale, okay. But then you are also not supposed to draw the entire object. You can only focus on the part that you are interested in, okay. So although I'm showing a dimension of 1000, I'm not actually drawing 1000. Probably the portion or the space that I'm using to draw this component is about 300 millimeters, which I can accommodate in my A3 sheet, okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm drawing these zigzag lines, and they are supposed to be drawn using scale, and the angle that they make, so the zigzag lines are like this, okay. These two are sorry, yeah, this is a mistake. It is supposed to be like this, then this line, horizontal line, then this line, horizontal line, again a line that is parallel to this one, okay. So this makes an angle of, let's say, 60 degrees, or I guess this angle is 30 degree, and this angle is 60 degree, okay. And this line is supposed to be perpendicular to the vertical line, okay. So this is how the zigzag is supposed to look like, and this way you represent a broken segment. You can use that for something called break line, okay. I guess this few variations should be sufficient for you to draw any type of drawing. Acha. Apart from that, we should now make clear how thick is thick and how thin is thin, okay. And you will again find the details of the thick lines and thin lines, okay, in your textbook, okay. And there are specifications for thick lines and thin lines, and various orders of thickness for inked drawing, that is using pens, and for pencils. We would of course draw using pencils, okay, but this is the thickness that I am suggesting, that for thin line you can go with 0.25 millimeter. For thick line you can go with 0.5 millimeter, okay. And apart from this thick and thin line, there are even thicker lines that would be used for your drawing your margins as well as your borders. Okay, for that you can use a thickness of about 1 millimeter. Okay, but please remember, whether the line is thick or thin, it should be equally dark. Okay, is there any confusion, any question up to this part? এই অবধি কোনো অসুবিধা?
না স্যার।
Okay. Okay, so in that case, we can stop here. Okay, and I'll be sharing this video and everything with you. Okay, and we'll meet on next Saturday, possibly at the same time, and we can start the the analysis of our first component, so that we can understand what sort of drawing are we going to be drawing, whether the assembly drawing or the exploded view. Okay, so we can focus on that on the next class. Okay, so for today's class, your assignment is to prepare couple of templates. Okay,
স্যার যে টেমপ্লেটটা বানাবো মানে স্যার
হ্যাঁ।
সেটা কি মানে নেসেসারিলি যে A3 শিটেই হতে হবে নাকি স্যার?
দেখো, আমার ধারণা যদি if you are in a position to procure a drawing sheet, I would say prepare a A2 or A3 sheet, okay, by the specification.
ওকে
Okay, but if you are if you are in somewhere where you cannot even procure a drawing sheet, then probably you will have to work with whatever probably you'll only be able to procure A4 sheets. Okay,
হ্যাঁ
so
স্যার A4 এই তাহলে করতে হবে।
sorry
হ্যাঁ স্যার যদি মানে ড্রয়িং শিট মানে না থাকে তাহলে তো স্যার A4 ছাড়া মানে অপশন
হ্যাঁ,
নেই।
ওই A4 sheetই করবে তখন।
আর স্যার অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট যেটা হবে সেটা স্যার কি আপনাকে মেলে পাঠাতে হবে না স্যার ক্লাসরুমে টার্ন ইন করবো?
হ্যাঁ, আমি ক্লাসরুমে লিংক শেয়ার করে দেবো, সেখানে পাঠিয়ে দিতে পারবো।
ওকে স্যার সেখানে তাহলে টার্ন ইন করে দেবেন। ওকে স্যার।
ঠিক আছে।
ওকে স্যার।